Thank you, everyone. Committee on Finance will reconvene for continued testimony for Senate Bill 2821, Senate Draft 2 relating to menstrual equity. First up is Hawaii State Commission on the Status of Women.
Hi, Chair, Vice Chair Cara Jabal Corollas for the Commission on the Status of Women. I took Laguna with me. He wanted to testify and then he changed his mind, but he's 5, so might be the littlest student here. I'll use your time judiciously, but I did want to say one additional comment because of where we're at with this historic measure. Actually, earlier this week, I got my period unexpectedly after the last baby, and it was kind of a mess. And I reacted, Laguna was there, and I reacted the way that I've probably been reacting since I was a preteen. You know, I said something like, oh my God, yuck, I'm so sorry, just automatically. And he paused and he said, why are you sorry? It's normal. And then he scampered off and got me a pad. And it hit me then that it's really two cultures colliding, because Laguna and his fellow kindergarteners don't yet know that the prevailing idea is that periods are gross and shame. And they haven't been through those mortifying moments that the other students kind of, you know, summarized for all of us that we've lived through. And you know what? They don't have to, ever. If you pass SB 2821, they can be the first generation to live without period poverty and the stigma that they all describe. So we join this chorus of voices across the islands to ask that you pass this measure. Laguna, did you want to say anything? Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Department of Education.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair Luke, Vice Chair Yamashita. I'm Heidi Armstrong, Department of Education, and we stand on our written testimony in support, and we've offered comments in our written testimony. Thank you very much.
Thank you. HawaiiKidsCAN.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I think the students said it all, but I did want to applaud them for their courage, for standing up and sharing their voices, and applaud Millie and the Ma'i movement for all the work they've done, and Senator Kidani for supporting this measure. I just did want to point out from an equity and student achievement perspective, chronic absenteeism is one of the leading indicators for student achievement. And with students already missing time due to COVID quarantines, we need to maximize the amount of time that they're still in school. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have HSTA.
Aloha, Chair and members of the committee. Laverne Moore speaking on behalf of Osa Tui Jr., President of the Hawaii State Teachers Association. The Hawaii State Teachers Association stands strongly for this bill. We are so proud of Millie and her students. They are setting a legacy. What it is a legacy of eliminating barriers, eliminating economic barriers, so that our families who cannot afford it will not have to worry about it, because the schools will provide the products. Educationally, our students will come to school and not be absent and have failing grades. Health and safety, our students will be safe in school. This is a move for equity for all our students. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Next up is Nikiani.
Aloha, Chair Luke, Vice Chair Yamashita, members of the committee. I'm Nikki Ann Yi of Ma'i Movement Hawaii. I stand on my written testimony in strong support of SB 2821, and I urge all of you to pass it immediately. Our students cannot wait another year. They came here, they showed you why, they told you it's in the written testimony. We cannot wait. You have the unique power to change and shift the trajectory of half the student population. No one deserves to feel any less or suffer unnecessarily simply because of their biology or household situation. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much. We have Emi Shigekane.
Hi, somehow I missed the group of students, okay. But I'm a junior in high school, and I wanted to express to you through my testimony today the importance of this bill and the widespread amount of people that it affects. You saw just how many people are coming through here to support it, and it's because by passing this bill, we can affect millions, we can affect generations to come, and we can change the lives of every young student that goes through the Hawaii public school system. And it's something that we can do and you can easily do by passing this bill. And I think that we're not only investing in pads and tampons, but we're investing in a distraction-free environment, because I speak from personal experience when I tell you that not having access to menstrual products can be extremely stressful and worrying. I've had to borrow a jacket from a friend and just bleed through the day and hope that I was going to make it. And I can't tell you a single class that I attended that day, because that's not what's on your mind. You're thinking, can people see what's happening? You know, you're thinking about literally blood coming out of your body. And if we want to give students an equal platform in education and equal access to make sure that they're going to school every day that they can, I strongly urge the passing of this bill, because we're not only investing in menstrual products, we're investing in successful future for all of our students and equal access to education. And for these reasons, I strongly hope you pass the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Sienna Yu.
She went first.
Oh, she went first time? Okay. And then David Samos, yes?
My name is Davide Samolski. I'm currently an educator in the DOE. And I've lived most of my life in privileged ignorance of the inequity that is rampant in over half of our population. First, with my peers, my colleagues, and now my students. But educators and legislators can't afford to be ignorant. We can't normalize leaving a third grade 8-year-old crying in an unmanned health room because we don't have a budget for menstruation products, and then running door to door to discover that no other teacher had an extra pad that day. We can't accept a transgender student in high school no longer attending class because they had to explain their identity over and over again to the entire front office because no one had a key. This is unacceptable. We have a kuleana to the luhui and the keiki and the future of this island. And that kuleana starts now. Mahalo.
Thank you. Next up is Austin Kinney. Oh, she went the first time. Monica May Rayon. Hi.
Aloha, Chair Luke, Vice Chair Yamashita, and members of the committee. My name is Monica May Raiwan, and I'm a student at Waipahu High School. This bill isn't only important for me, but it's also important for my peers and the future generations that will come forward. I'm a future healthcare provider, and the three main factors of healthcare is accessibility, low cost, and quality. The most I was able to do when I had a full pad at school was use toilet paper. The quality of toilet paper isn't made for my period. The costs in feminine hygiene products baffle me. How is an inevitable cycle so costly to many of us? Accessibility of feminine products is what has many of us leaving class. I cannot believe that because of my peers and I not having pads, we risked our grades, our attendance record, and more. Mahalo for hearing my testimony.
Thank you. Zoom testimony. Is there anyone else who would like to testify? Yes.
Good afternoon,
Hi.
Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Zhizi Zhong, and I stand on my written testimony in strong support of the measure. Menstrual equity should be a civil right. Just as everyone deserves to live in a safe, healthy environment, our kids at public schools deserve to have access to pads and tampons. Red is the color of Chinese culture. Red is the color of luxury glamour. Red is also the color of blood on my pants when I forgot I got my period and tried to dance. I found a big stain on my behind. Oh, what shall I do? Is it a crime? For period products to not be accessible, should we ask the government to provide and to be equitable? Yes, that's it. We'll write to the legislature and ask for justice. I hope the legislature will consider passing the measure so that all kids, keikis, students, and children will have access to pads and period products.
The measure is necessary to enact equitable policies to advance public health for our public schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who wants to testify in person? If not, we're gonna move on to the Zoom testifiers. Okay, with that, we have DHS.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. We'll stand on our written testimony in strong support, but I just wanted to commend all the students there for their bravery and telling their stories. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Stonewall Caucus of the Democratic Party of Hawaii.
Good afternoon, Chair Luke. Michael Galoyu Jr. on behalf of our 1,300 plus members and supporters across the state. We stand in full support of this measure. We do want to take this opportunity to thank all those student advocates that have given me hope for the future with their bravery to come forward to not only educate their fellow students, their teachers, the administration, as well as you legislators about the need for this bill. They have done more for menstrual equity than they will ever know, and that they've lit the fire for other student activists to come forward. We also like to give a special shout out to whoever their special donor was that was able to come up with the $400 so they could have that bus so they could bring all those students to you. So a special shout out to them as well. So we encourage you and we ask that you pass this bill. Mahalo.
Thank you. Next up is Hawaii Diaper Bank.
Aloha, Chair Luke, Vice Chair Yamashita, and members of the House Committee on Finance. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I am in full support of SB2821. I'm in agreement with my sisters at Ma'i Movement, and I'm so proud of these students. I'm here hopefully to witness history today. So stand on my written testimony.
Thank you. Next is Sarah Kern.
Aloha, Chair Luke, Vice Chair Yamashita, and honorable members of the committee. My name is Sarah Kern. I'm a Kauai resident testifying in strong support of this bill. I'm a 7th grade science teacher at Chiefus Kamakahele Middle School, which was one of the really fortunate participants in the Ho'ohanohano pilot organized by Ma'i Movement this school year. The pilot has made a really big positive impact for my students. In addition to the health room, we were able to stock products in each bathroom stall, as well as each classroom. And the pads and panty liners are used regularly by my middle school students who, middle school is a time when students are often caught off guard by their periods. So it's really important that those products are readily accessible. There's a lot of low-income students at our school who no longer need to use those products that the students were referring to: socks, rags, diapers, toilet paper, even just leaves to get through their cycle each month. Our students have thanked me multiple times. A lot of them have shared how much it means to them to have these products available. I've had numerous former students who I keep in touch with complain, why don't we have this at the high school? Why do you guys have it now that we're gone? And it really pains me when they say that, and thinking of all the students across the state who are struggling without access to these products. And menstruators, whether they're women, female students, transgender students, non-binary students, none of these groups need another barrier to education and to success, especially after the 2 years of learning loss due to COVID. The absenteeism that David Miyashiro mentioned is not helping our students, and we really need to make these products readily available to our students. This session, you guys all have the power to make an impact and ensure that inequity when it comes to menstruation ends this school year. I'm really hoping that when all of our students across the state return to their DOE schools in August this year, that the pads are going to be available next to the toilet paper, just like it is in my school today. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify in support of this bill.
Thank you. Next up is Courtney Hamakawa.
Hi, my name is Courtney Hamakawa. I'm a homeless concerns liaison here on the Big Island for East Hawaii. I'd like to say mahalo for the bravery for those students from Ilima Intermediate and other schools on Oahu. They really verbalized and made true the stories. Same thing here, down here on the Big Island, particularly up in Ka'u, where we've noticed so many kids not going going without the pads and products that they need. They were once scolded in a after-school program that I ran. Like we're thinking that particularly the girls were playing around, but they were making pads out of toilet paper so they could have pads. And upon knowing this, we go, wow, we have a real problem here. And many of our students, in fact, about 1/3 are Marshallese, and they don't typically talk about these kind of type of things. It's a very private thing. However, private or not, the problem still exists, and we need your help. They're very low income. Many of them are in homeless situations. Almost 1/5 of the school qualifies as McKinney-Vento, which would be considered homeless under a federal definition. And we need to get these products to these students who I work closely with them and their family, as well as other low-income ones, and those that are maybe not low income, but are also in need of these pads. We hope to make this something as normal as pencil, paper, toilet paper, and things that people don't have to hide in shame. Students don't have to hide in shame and ask for these things. It'll be things that they can go ahead and come to school, learn in comfort, and excel in school, rather than be absent and be in shame and in hiding. So we hope to finally get this push over the line and get this bill passed once and for all. All across the state can benefit. Thank you so much for your time and consideration for this bill, and let's get it passed. Mahalo.
Thank you. Next up is Chaslin Nicole Jasper. Okay, if not, we have Arlen Rifoldo from Ma'i Movement.
Aloha Chair Luke, Vice Chair Yamashita, and honorable members of this committee. My name is Arlen Redoble, and I'm a sophomore from Farrington High School who has worked with the Ma'i Movement in the Honolulu School District. And I'm speaking in strong support along with my written testimony on Senate Bill 2821, which requests the Department of Education to make menstrual products for students free in all Hawaii public schools and charter school campuses. I may not menstruate, however, period poverty is a real and serious issue, and this bill would allow menstruating students to go to school carefree without thinking about how they'd last through the day with only one pad or one tampon. If schools could budget for other hygienic products like hand soaps and toilet paper, paper towels, why can't they budget for menstrual products from their yearly $1 million budgets? Because these are necessities too. Lastly, studies have shown that students would rather not attend school while menstruating to avoid the embarrassment they might face in school. Knowing this, schools should have provided menstrual products schools who have provided menstrual products have had an increase in attendance as they felt comfortable and confident coming to school. Considering all of these reasons, I strongly urge this committee to pass Senate Bill 2821 to ensure equity and dignity for menstruating students. Thank you for this opportunity and for allowing me to testify for this bill. Mahalo.
Thank you. Next up is Kelsey Nakagawa.
Aloha, Chair Luke and Vice Chair Yamashita and members of the committee. My name is Kelsey Nakagawa. I'm a UH Manoa student and resident of Kaneohe, and I stand by my written testimony in support of SB 2821, Senate Draft 2. This is because it's a public health and human rights issue, as my peers have mentioned before. Toilet paper and sinks, as well as soaps, are in place to prevent the spread of enteric diseases and keep hygiene up in public areas. And providing period products will do the same because it can prevent illnesses that are possibly deadly, such as toxic shock syndrome, yeast infections, and bacterial vaginosis. And then this will decrease the burden on the healthcare system by increasing access to period products. Mahalo for listening and for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else willing to testify or wishing to testify on Zoom or in person? If not, let's recess for decision making just on this bill.